Welcome to BAM It with John Michael and Mari, covering all things business, accounting, management, marketing, and IT, the place where businesses and entrepreneurs find the forest through the trees.
Hello and welcome to BAM It. I am John Michael Cletus with my good friend
Mari Peterson of Marketing Outpost.
And I am with Peridot Consulting. Today we're going to be talking about OTT. And what is OTT, Mari?
Over the top.
That's one T. Oh, there the over the top.
Over the top.
Oh, okay.
That means that is OTT.
Oh, I got it now. OTT. So over the top, and this is something to do with marketing, correct?
It is. It has to do with advertising and what you watch on TV. So over the top is over the top advertising. So for example, when you're on YouTube and there is a video that plays before you watch your video, that's over the top.
Okay.
If you are watching on Amazon and you see a video blip in the corner of an ad before you are able to watch your movie or whatever, that's over the top.
So it's not overly loud or a little aggressive advertising. It's a placement or something like that.
It is, and it's a terrible name, really. I don't know why I guess they just couldn't come up with something.
Because I can think of some over-the-top ads, if that's what...
I know, like your mustache is a little bit over the top.
I like this mustache, but nobody else does, so maybe...
It's getting kind of curly.
Yeah, it's kind of...
It's over the top.
You know, this isn't a video, so our listeners are like, what are you talking about? We're just making it up. I don't really have a mustache. But what is our interesting fact, Mari, of the day?
How many people would you think have cut the cable cord in the last 6 months in 2018?
What do you mean by cut the cable?
They canceled their cable subscriptions.
I canceled my cable. So go straight internet TV like Netflix
Exactly.
or Sling or whatever.
Correct.
In the last 6 months?
Yes, of 2018.
Like percentage or number?
Okay, let's do it this way. Would you think it's over 1 million, under 1 million?
Over.
Okay, would you think it's over 2, under 2?
Over.
It is. It's 2.2 million households.
Wow. Well, I'm one of those. We did that. You know, we didn't have cable a few years ago, and it's fine. And then we got cable again when we moved, and then we decided to cut it again. So I noticed when you have cable, you do a lot of just blind, whatever's on is on type of TV. Just turn it on in its background. Oh, this random show is on, and you watch it. Cable is nice for live stuff, you know, sports or other, like live news or something. But you can still get that stuff on the internet. Like you get CNN and stuff.
Well, so let's go further into why you cut the cable cord. So you got back on it, and then you got off of it. Why? Well,
the reason is because even though we had cable, we were doing Netflix, we were doing Hulu. So we were doing those things anyways. And, you know, it's financial was a decision, but also you just, like I was saying, you just find yourself blindly watching stuff on cable. Whereas internet TV, Netflix and so forth, you consciously watch TV. You go after, you're like, okay, let's watch this. Let's do this. You consciously watch episodes. Whereas cable, you kind of just, you know, a show happens to be on, so you just end up watching it like a zombie.
Exactly. And so what you're saying is actually what a lot of other Americans, those 2.2 million in the last half of 2018 did, is the cable bills have become outrageous. I know in our household, our cable bill is like close to $300 a month. But that also includes our internet, which is why a lot of people have it as well. It's a bundled package. And so I am in part of that household group. A lot of the people that are not cutting the cord, not cutting cable, is because of the sports and maybe one particular channel, news or something that they really like. And that's pretty much our household.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we went to cut the cable, we also have a landline. So we had a bundle. We had the land, we had cable, and we had the TV and internet. And we were just like, we just want internet. And it was actually going to be more expensive if we just got the internet, and it's less expensive if we bundled in the phone with it. So I mean, I don't even know my phone. We don't even have a phone hooked up.
But you have a landline.
Yeah, because it was the way they bundled it, it was cheaper. And they really, like, it was going to be a lot cheap. I mean, to get cable, but I was just like, you know what, I want to watch it just at a certain point. The savings are mitigated. I understand, but just the zombiness of it, I was getting away from.
Well, sidebar, I watched this, follow this Instagram account called Overheard in New York, and it's snippets of conversations that are heard around the city. So one snippet says, "Hey, do you still have a landline?" The guy says, "Yes, I do. I use it to find my phone." Get it? Anyway, so what is OTT officially? OTT is television over the top of. So fill in the blank, whether it's over the top of the internet, things like your Roku, Sling, your TV, Hulu, that kind of thing. So that's basically any kind of media that you are watching through your TV, through the internet. That's what OTT. Now, why does it matter and why are we talking about it? Well, it matters a lot because it's changing how businesses advertise and choose their advertising. So traditionally in the past, you would go to your local TV station or radio or whatever and say, I want to buy an advertising commercial package for my XYZ business. Well, what do you do when now fewer and fewer people are watching cable and they are now consuming more of their news and media and entertainment over the internet on things like a Roku or, like you're saying, Hulu, Netflix, and so forth? Those people are watching less and less cable. So here you go, paying thousands of dollars a month to advertise on your local, TV station, but yet you're probably not getting the viewers that you thought you were getting or that you used to get in the past. So OTT is changing how businesses advertise on TV, channels, basically.
Like to have an actual, the stereotype that you think of a commercial where you're on there and it's the salesman. So I agree.
Well, and in the past, what you would do is you would say, okay, I want to hit a certain demographic. So you would choose which channels you wanted to advertise on. So let's say you're a sports bar. You might advertise on very specific sports news channels, right? And guy channels, like maybe the History Channel or something like that.
That's a guy channel?
Well, it used to be. I think it's more leaning toward women now, because the content is also leaning in that direction. But let's say it's an outdoor enthusiast and you say, I'm going to advertise on National Geographic and whatever. So you try to pick those channels that meet your demographic. Well, another thing you would choose is time slots, and time slots used to be premium. So you would pay extra money, let's say, to be on a TV ad right before your local news station comes on, or during the broadcast of your local news station. But that's not how people are watching TV anymore. It's changing. They can now choose to watch a series or a channel at any time that they want. And they're doing it basically because it fits the convenience of their schedule. So if you travel a lot or your work schedule just makes it so that you're not around during the time that those, stations or whatever are running your, news station or program that you wanted to watch, you can go find it and find the episode and watch it when you want to watch it. So now, why would you pay for, let's say, a premium slot when that's not how people are watching, that program anymore? See what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I can definitely see how that changes things up. It would be very cool to do a commercial, but if I were thinking about doing a commercial, I don't know if I would, because how are you going to, the traditional way isn't going to attract, or you're not getting to those people.
Exactly. So let's talk about that. So first of all, when I mentioned OTT, I also talked about cord cutters. So a cord cutter is that person or that family that is cutting the cable cord, and they are making the actual switch to internet TV, basically streaming TV, as you were talking about, whether it's one of those platforms, Hulu, Netflix, Roku, all those kind of things. Basically, the first number one reason people are cutting the cord is because of the finances. It's really building up on their monthly costs, plus they're paying the monthly subscription fees to those other programs. That's why most of the cord cutters are ages 25 to 54, because those are the people paying the bills. All right, they usually have an income of $50,000 or more, and it is a split between men and women. It's not like it's more than one versus the other. Now, another term you ought to know are cord nevers. You know what a cord never is?
I'm guessing somebody that's never had cable.
And that's basically millennials. And that's basically so, like, for example, in your family, you have 3 kids. They're not paying the cable bill. You were paying the cable bill. So when they leave the house, do you think they're going to go sign on to cable?
Nope.
Probably not. So that group is called, they're cord nevers. They're never going to sign on to cable. They will never even have that experience. A friend of mine shared how her kids, they went out of town and they kind of went to some remote cabin or lake or something like that, and all they had was cable. And, the kids turned on the TV and they were like, how do we select our program we were watching? I don't know if it was a SpongeBob thing or whatever, but they had something on Disney. I don't know. And they were like, and she goes, oh, you can't. You can wait and it comes on later on tonight at 9 o'clock. And the kids were like, what? Why do we have to wait? Why, they're so used to being able to select what they want to watch when they want to watch it. So those are cord nevers.
The old paradigm of, I got to get home because my show starts at 9 o'clock is gone. That is just
exactly. It's disappearing. So there's a lot of people that are still kind of in that zone or in that mode, but basically nobody is stuck to that anymore. So
my kids, they will be cord nevers because I'm sure when they go out on their own, they are not going to get cable. However, they've been around it because I've had it in the past. But it's going to be funny because they're going to be... we tell our kids, hey, kids, I remember I used to have a landline, or I remember what it was like before, when video games were coming around, and they think I'm just an old, curmudgeon because of these stories. Their story is going to be like, I remember when there was my parents had this thing called cable, and they're going to be telling their kids
we had a cable box,
and it was totally like you had to watch what was on at the time. And it's going to be one of those stories they'll be telling their kids, like back in my day.
Exactly. So guess how many households in the U.S. access streaming TV?
I would say every household that has internet.
Well, 72%. So that's a huge percentage. Even, in our household, we have cable and we do the Netflix and all that other stuff. And what happens is you end up watching multiple things. It's actually a thing now where you can actually be watching TV, but then you're actually also looking at Facebook on your phone and you're watching videos on that, or you're on YouTube or
that's my wife. God, I love my wife to death, but we will watch a movie and I'm all into it and I'll look at her and she's just on her phone.
Exactly.
And I'm like, there's a scene happening right now and I don't want to have to explain it to you in 5 minutes. Please look up and watch this.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. A lot of people are looking at more than one device.
Media overload.
So essentially, over the top means you get to decide, the consumer, when you watch, what you watch, and where you watch it. So you can watch it on your phone, you can transfer it from your phone to your tablet, to your desktop computer, to your TV. So you get to not only choose, instead of having to run home, like you said before, and watch it on your TV, you could actually just stay right where you are at a bar, which I see a lot of people do, and watch their program or video or whatever without ever having to go home.
I've got it on my phone. So, I mean, it's completely the way it is. And I talked to some good friends that are just like, they get into different Netflix shows, and he's just like, yeah, I'll just watch it on my, when we go to bed, I'll just lay in bed and watch this episode on my phone because my wife doesn't get into it. Just little mini things like that happen all the time.
Right. We're very now self-centric about what we watch. So instead of having to share the TV and everybody has to watch it, or somebody gets to dominate, now everybody gets to watch their own thing. So there's 72% of households accessing over-the-top streaming. That's 205 million people currently streaming TV in the U.S. Now here is a new but old term. So now in OTT advertising, there's a term called VCR, and it's not the old VCR that you were thinking about.
Back in my day, we used to have to rewind the tapes and take them back to Blockbuster, or we'd be fined.
VCR is a term you need to know when it comes to OTT advertising. It is the video completion rate. So if you do any advertising, let's say on Facebook, and you do a video now, it will tell you in Facebook how long people watched your video and if they actually watched the entire video. Because you actually want to know, hey, I just spent, thousands of dollars creating this 30-second commercial. did people actually watch it, or did they skip past the ad in that first 3 seconds?
I'd say it's probably a 95.9% skip past.
Exactly.
Like, who doesn't just like keep tapping the skip until it's
well, and that's why, from a marketing perspective, if I am creating the content that I know is going to be streaming over some episode, then I need to make sure that content, that commercial is really engaging enough so that you watch it.
Or like what they're due, I notice, is that you can't skip it until like about 10 seconds in. And then you can skip it. So that first 10 seconds, A, to your point, should be engaging. So maybe they'll keep watching. But B, should really get across what they're wanting to get across.
Exactly. So one thing, you want to put the most important content first. But if it's a story and you can tell it. So for example, I watch a lot of Facebook pet videos. This is how
do you?
Yes, I do. I love cat videos.
A lot of cat.
Videos.
I was going to say, do you watch cat videos? Are you a cat video watcher?
Yes, and I watch a lot of pet stories. So I've noticed now when you watch a pet video story,
this is being recorded.
Yeah. I'm not ashamed. There is no shame in watching cat videos, John Michael. And you know what? There's a lot of people who are secretly watching cat videos.
Probably as they listen
videos.
To this. They're probably listening to this watching cat videos. Right?
And there's some really interesting ones like Unlikely Friends, where maybe a dog is a friend with a bird. Did you know that?
I'm realizing there's a part of life I'm missing out on.
You are. So anyway, this is a great example though, because those videos, some of them, they start the story off about how this cat and this bird are best friends and how they became best friends, and it shows a little video, but it stops halfway through and a video ad will show, and they will pick up back on the story after the video. But by that point, you've totally bought into the story, and you really need to know how this cat and this bird became friends. So you end up watching the whole commercial, waiting for the rest of the story about the cat and the bird. So that's just an example.
So the people doing the advertising have a story about a cat and a bird?
No, the people who are doing the advertising have managed to make sure that their ad is placed in the middle of a compelling story,
I think,
that you continue to watch because of both. So the people selling the story about the cat and the bird, they're not selling it, it's free.
So they're the ones getting paid by the advertisers.
Yes, but the ad is in there, and you end up watching the whole ad because you want to see the rest of this compelling story.
Mm-hmm. And that's the reason you're there. So the people that are getting paid by the advertisers are the ones with the cat and the bird.
Exactly.
I gotcha.
So, or that channel, whatever that is. But that's an example of if you hire somebody to create content, and that content is a video commercial, and it is going to be played over something streaming, you need to know where it is going to be placed and how it is going to be placed so that you can create content that is going to be engaging and hopefully have people watch that 30-second video. So for example, I've seen videos where they will actually point to a part of the screen. They know that this is going to be a preview for a movie or something. And so they'll kind of use that video, that movie theme, as part of their video commercial. Mm-hmm. So that it ties together. So sometimes you can do that. So those are just this is where you have to rethink your development of your commercial. Whereas in the past, you didn't really do that. You just knew that your commercial was going to play halftime during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Or
like once an hour, every hour on this channel, that sort of thing.
Exactly. So something like that. So now you have to kind of think a little bit more about that content and what are people actually doing when they're looking at that device, whether it's in their hand or on the TV and it's streaming over. So there's two things we've talked about. One is there's no more Primetime. Primetime is a dying term, when it comes to commercial advertising and developing that. People watch on their own schedule. Number two is content creation and really thinking about if you're creating a commercial that is going to be played over OTT, then really think about where it is going to be playing and the kind of placement so that you can create content that is going to be engaging and keep the viewer.
And it seems like whenever in the modern day, and it's all digital and it's all algorithmic, and you know how long people are watching and what they're watching, you can really just say it's very, given that these ads, you can highly more accurately target, like if I want 19 to 25 year olds for my product that I am advertising, you can more likely narrow in on that target easier through this format than especially than TV, where you're truly just throwing a stone into a pond. And
yes, and when you combine that with the fact that you can now zip code, so a streaming device is over the internet, and that internet IP address is tied to where you live. And so you can actually zip code target. So you could say, I only want streaming devices that are in these 4 or 5 zip codes. So, for example, before with cable, if you advertised on your local cable, news station, you didn't have any control. That was going to be wherever that TV station broadcasts, your ad is going there. If you're a local business, though, and you only provide services within, let's say, a 20-mile...
Well, Google's helping us out here. That was funny.
That was funny. My phone just picked up and was listening to our conversation.
See, I told you it's the Big Brother is coming to get us.
Big Brother is coming to get us. But if you are advertising and you only have a business that maybe you only service people within a 10-mile radius, then it doesn't help you to go advertise on, your local TV station where it is going to be reaching, 4 or 5 counties, potentially. So in this way, with the streaming, you can actually target by zip code. You can target and say, you can even target by household income and ages. So you can actually do more refined targeting. Then you take that to the next level with retargeting. So you can say anybody who watched these episodes, you can say, let's retarget that in the other mediums, their website searches, whatever, other places.
I mean, that's really cool. That's why sometimes I'll notice that if I, search for a fire pit for my backyard, I'll notice that next time I log into Google, there's fire pit ads in the corner, or I'll see something, there's fire pit ads, or it pops up on my phone randomly.
Well, thanks a lot, John Michael, because now that my phone is listening, now when I go do a search and I'm on Facebook, I'm going to see ads for fire pits.
Well, I could have, it's not like a fire pit, it's bad. I could have come up with something worse as an example.
I could have come up with something, how to control armpit sweat. And then maybe you're going to get ads about armpit sweat.
Well, evidently you are. How do you control armpit sweat, Mari?
I don't know.
Google it.
I don't know. Maybe a prescription, maybe a pill,
or
maybe you
deodorant.
have to slap on
How about we
some
just start with deodorant?
I don't wear deodorant.
You don't wear deodorant?
I'm confessing this to everybody out there.
Obviously, you're confessing that out loud because we are on a podcast right now. You do not wear deodorant. I will say, in your defense, I've not noticed that you do not wear deodorant.
That's a good thing. Would you tell me, though, if I did?
I would tell you now, but I haven't. So.
Well, we can talk about that later. I've had to have difficult conversations when I was in HR, and I did have somebody that had a bad body odor problem. And so when you have to actually address that in HR, it's not fun, but there is an appropriate way to do it.
Are you telling me something right now, Mari?
No, but that's another episode. We've gone way off track. So anyway, back to wrapping up OTT. I just wanted to give a basic overview of what it is and why it matters in marketing. And if you are doing any kind of advertising and you're thinking about the future of your marketing activities that you're going to do, consider this. Don't just go the usual route and do a commercial and think, oh, I'm just going to go to cable. Really rethink now how you advertise if you're going to do it on TV.
Well, it seems to me, I mean, there's probably some younger listeners, and I know everybody listening, that's the paradigm. We've all, OTT, now that we have the definition of what it is, we're all very well aware of it. That's what we see in everything we do, from our cell phones to watching TV. It makes sense. I didn't know, because most of the OTT advertising I see is kind of big brand stuff. Can you actually, if I wanted to do small town accounting Peridot ad, I can actually do a digital ad and have it targeted?
Well, that's the thing. It's just now gaining ground, which is why you probably haven't noticed it so much. But I was talking to another client about it, and he said, yeah, I noticed that I was watching something on, not direct, but one of those streaming things, and I see an ad for the local Publix. So for the local Publix, not just Publix in general, but the local Publix. So brands are now figuring out, companies are figuring out this new kind of, shifting trend in advertising on TV that you can target. You can target by zip code. You can more target your demographic or target customer that you're after, and you can actually track that. Now, some of the tracking is still a little wonky. I don't think they've completely figured it out. So, for example, they can track that household and that one particular device. What they don't know is how many people are actually watching that device. Because, you have a TV, you could have 4 or 5 people in that household watching, or let's say it's a Super Bowl.
I hope they don't know that. That would be scary if they did know that.
Well, they're probably fine-tuning that, but let's say you have an event like the Game of Thrones. Everybody's been watching Game of Thrones. So people have been actually setting up, a TV, a big TV screen or whatever, and having lots of people come to the house and watch it. You don't know that there's, 15 people in that room watching that episode. So tracking isn't as finite as me clicking on something, but it never really was anyway on cable TV.
Well,
either.
yes, it wouldn't be. If anything, it can't get worse.
Exactly.
But you think eventually they're going to tie it into cell phones. They're like, oh, there's these 5 cell phones in that room, and it's somehow geocentric, zeroing in on those phones being on this room, and they're next to this device that's streaming this show, and that's probably how they could start doing that. Isn't there a thing like geocentric advertising that you've mentioned before? What am I talking about?
I just like hearing you go on when you don't know what you're talking about, but you kind of do know what you're talking about.
It is geocentric.
Yeah, well, it's geolocation targeting.
Okay.
And you can do that.
And what is that?
That's a whole nother episode.
I know, but just mention it.
Well, so geolocation targeting is saying, okay, here is a spot. Let's say, let's pick on, where's your favorite coffee place?
I have a bunch of favorite coffee places.
Okay, one of your coffee places.
Every one of them. But we'll say just the one that's close to here is Penny Cup, which is right here.
So Penny Cup could say, I want to hit everybody that comes into Penny Cup with a mobile ad. Okay, so there's 2 types of geolocation, but this is one way. And so what she does is she sets a geolocation target around her business. And you can set it to like within 30 feet or something. And everybody that comes in with location tracking on their mobile device that comes into that zone would be picked up. And then they can either be sent a mobile coupon then and there, or you can have it retarget so that when they leave, it will show ads when they're on Facebook. It will show ads when they're on Google search or whatever. So it is actually picking up those groups of people. Now, the cool thing about that is you can actually geolocation target anywhere. You can target by event. You can target by date and by space. So let's say you're going to a convention, and it's a convention of, coffee bean people. And you want to target everybody that went there to that coffee bean place to promote your product. You could say, I'm going to target this convention center at this date and this time.
This convention of coffee bean people.
Yes.
Okay.
And you could target the dates and the times so that anybody that goes into that convention center during that time is going to get an ad.
To the convention of coffee bean people.
Coffee bean people.
Or is it the land of Oompa Loompas and the coffee bean people?
Yes.
So these coffee bean people.
You're getting off track now. I'm done with my episode, John Michael. I'm done. OTT is done, and it's here to stay.
Okay. I was going to try to zero in on what you meant by coffee bean people. But anyways.
There they are. They're the land of the Oompa Loompas.
So in this episode, we've learned a lot of great things, from Mari doesn't wear deodorant to...
Now you're going to scare everybody.
To coffee bean people. And a little bit about OTT.
To your mustache needs some trimming.
To my mustache needs some trimming. I think my wife got to you and told you to say that.
No, I'm just looking at it now.
Okay, thanks. I think I made her mad, everybody, making fun of her coffee bean people. Well, anyways.
I represent the coffee bean people.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Well, anyways, we'll cut our listeners a hook and end this episode right now. We do want to thank everyone for joining us today. Please be sure to review this episode, and for more information on who we are or this podcast, please visit www.bammit.com. That is BAMM-IT.com. And our next podcast is going to be our 25th one next
I can't remember
26th?
the number, but it's a wrap up.
But it is our season 1 wrap up.
Finale, the grand finale.
For season 1, and we're going to be talking about podcasting in general, what we've learned, talk about kind of a recap on the past episodes, and it will be fun. And
you will have fun.
You will have fun. Thank you, everyone.
The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice and is for entertainment purposes only. The hosts and guests of this podcast may make terrible attempts at being funny, and this podcast does not defend the merits of this humor, nor does it guarantee that the humor will be successful. It is not guaranteed that you will find this as entertaining as the hosts find themselves.